I've been waiting a little bit. Been about a year since I've gone live. Actually, I haven't gone live since the playoff show last year for college football. So I'm excited about this one. At the 5 minute mark, I'll start talking. At the 5 minute mark is when I'll start talking about this game. Hey, Christina, hello. Well, I gotta ask you, who are you a fan of, Texas or Texas A&M? How silly of me. Let me go get my jersey and hat. Everybody, how are you? I see there's five, six people there, seven people now. Hey, Jeremy, what's up, man? All right, how many of you guys are Texas fans? Now, let me put on the Deion Sanders shades. I got 13 people. Not much, Jeremy. Just overcoming a great week of college football. Woo! We got 10 wins. Little brother beat Alabama yesterday. I'm happy for them about that. They're going to a bowl game. AIP, what's up, man? It's been a long time. Good to see you. Everything going good for you? How's your channel coming along, by the way? Right now, I do. A lot of more people. It's a shame. Yesterday was the 4 year anniversary of my YouTube channel, right? And I didn't even make a video about it. I didn't even realize it. Um, but I am a teacher now. I'm done with college. That's good. I need to go check it out sometime. But it's been a real busy life this year. Then my student teaching. Oh, cool, Creeper. Oh, that's cool. Nice to meet you, Elijah. Nice to meet you. So, I teach two subjects actually. I plan for science and math, fourth and fifth grade. It is a brutal, brutal job. I love teaching. Don't make no mistake. Now, this is my first year of certified teaching. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I had a really good teacher give this to me as a gift, and I've kept it ever since. Nice water, by the way. I'm a big water guy. I know, right? I can't wait for this game. Oh, it's past the 5 minute mark. It's time to start talking. Anyways, for those that have stuck around my channel for so long, I appreciate y'all. I really do, because this is my first year of certified teaching, so I have not had anywhere near enough time to upload as much YouTube content as I want, whether it's MMA or college football. But let's get on to this game, because now I'm here and I got a full week off because of Thanksgiving break. Texas, man, we are 10-1. We're probably gonna go to the SEC championship, but I will give our little brother. Let's to our little brother, Oklahoma. We're taking care of business against Alabama yesterday and embarrassing them like they did. I didn't think Oklahoma had enough offense to pull that off, but boy, oh boy, they did. You know, but when you look at their other losses, like Vanderbilt and even Tennessee, those teams ran the football really good, excuse me, against Alabama's defense. And Alabama's defense is nowhere near what it was with Nick Saban, obviously. No, I don't teach on Saturdays. I was watching a lot of football, though. But what I'm saying is teaching has a lot of lesson planning and a lot of stuff that goes on to it. And I plan about 4 lessons a week. It is not fun. So, yeah. But what I'm saying is Alabama clearly has had a lot of struggles. And they very well could lose to that Auburn team. I like Auburn, too, by the way. But I'll be pulling for Auburn to win that game. I hope they go to a bowl game. That team deserves it. You know, Auburn is the best unlucky team in college football this year. They really are. Jeremy, you're a smart person. You're very smart in that team. But Auburn has had so many close games, losses to Missouri, California, and even Oklahoma, games that they should have won. You know, they're way better than what their record says. And I think anybody who watches a lot of college football knows that. They're easily a 7 or 8 win team at best, maybe even 9 wins. And they still found ways to lose a lot of games. Now, obviously, Georgia, you know, was better than Auburn. There's no doubt about that. Even as a guy who likes Auburn, I'll admit that. Oh, yeah, that would be funny. I agree, AIP. That would be funny, and I'm pulling for Auburn to do it. But as far as this game goes, Texas A&M is really good this year, right, with Mike Elko. He's done a heck of a job, and Mike Elko has a chance to do something that hasn't been done at Texas A&M, especially since they've gone to the SEC like we have now. That's win 10 games in a year, and they have not done it. Texas A&M has not had a 10-win season in a long time. I just don't think they're going to do it. Look, I know A&M's a tough place to play, and we're Texas, so they're going to be super amped up and ready and pumped up to play this game. I still believe Texas is a way better team than Texas A&M. Now, talent-wise, I think anybody else knows that Texas A&M can play with anybody in the country, and they're really, really good at home. Look, Notre Dame is clearly. I'm gonna talk about that game next, but I'm with you right there. I'm not scared of Ohio State though. I hope as Texas, I hope we get a hold of Ohio State if they make the playoffs. Oregon will probably spank them again and play their worst football and still beat them somehow. But back to the A&M game. I don't see A&M beating Texas. I really don't. And again, they're a good team. And again, like I understand the Notre Dame loss is acceptable. Obviously, Notre Dame has beaten up everybody they've played except a fluke loss on a 70, 60, whatever yard touchdown pass it was on defense they gave up. And other than that, they played perfect defense. And they're about to destroy USC most likely, you know. And that's probably why I got another viewer that came by just to hear me say that because it's true. But Texas A&M is not better than Texas. They're not on Texas level. I mean, they're not. That's just what it is. I hope so, and I hope we get a crack at Georgia. I'm not scared of Georgia. Georgia beat us straight up. And we had help to keep us in that game. We should have been blown out. But we had a lot of turnovers. And they talk about how they did too. Well, that's one game. And Georgia has never done well in Atlanta outside of playing Georgia Tech. And speaking of, they're going to have their hands full with Georgia Tech too this Saturday. But Texas A&M is just not on our level, man. I do think this game will be competitive and it's going to be close just because of the hate that's in this game and because Texas A&M would love nothing more than to play spoiler than to ruin Texas's perfect, not perfect, obviously, they lost already, but they're really good football season. But we've played the best team that we could have played right now, and that's Georgia from the SEC. And we didn't look good, but that was Georgia, Texas A&M, and again, look, Texas A&M is really good. I think they can compete with Georgia and play really good with them too. I don't know if they'll beat them, but they'll definitely give them a fight. I think they can play with anybody in the country, and I'm giving them a lot of respect, which I shouldn't be doing as a Texas fan. But I'm kind of breaking here. Texas is going to beat Texas A&M. Plain and simple. Texas A&M gave up 40-something points to Auburn yesterday. And look, you could talk about how Auburn was at home. It was a night game. Auburn also lost to California at home. They also lost to something last year called New Mexico State or whoever it was at home. And they've had a lot of embarrassing losses. They lost to Vanderbilt at home. And I get it. Vanderbilt gave us a scare, so I'm not saying that's a bad loss. But they've lost a lot of home games too. So that home field advantage doesn't really matter. Great teams. My point is Texas A&M's a good team. They're not a great team. Great teams don't lose at South Carolina. They don't lose at Auburn, who's probably not even gonna go to a bowl game unless they beat Alabama. Something they haven't done to Alabama since 2010, and at Alabama. And Texas A&M, in my opinion, there's just too many no-nos about that team. They're not a great team. And again, the only advantage really Texas A&M has, in my opinion, is that this game is being played at Texas A&M. Marcel Reed's a good athlete. He's going to find out real quick against our defense. He's not going to be able to do anything. I hope Texas beats Georgia, too. I think they can. They just play a perfect game. They should be able to win that game. AIP, man, as much as I want to believe that, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make a separate video about that. I'm going to actually go live for all the rivalries, the big ones that we want to talk about. The ones that have major playoff implications or even games that don't, games that people want to talk about. But I do think Alabama should beat Auburn. That's just my opinion. They should win. But of course, if you look at how Alabama has lost their games, they've lost to teams that don't even throw the football around very good. Oklahoma's offense has been terrible. That's why they've lost 5 games this year. But their defense is so physical and it's so good. And it's clear Brent Venables is doing a good job with the defense. That defense never looked anything like that with Lincoln Riley there. And their offense is bad, but they've had a lot of injuries. And I'm not trying to make excuses for Brent Venables. Even as a Texas guy, I'm supposed to hate Oklahoma, and hate's a strong word. But I'm just saying the truth. I mean, we had a hard time with Oklahoma too. Now, granted, we blew them out and we pulled away in that game. But Oklahoma's defense showed up to play, man. They gave us a hard time in that game. Now, I'm not going to say no chance. I mean, Auburn's dangerous. Think about it. Record-wise, Auburn's worse than last year, right? But the way they play football, and let's be honest, last year's Auburn team would not have beat Texas A&M anywhere. It don't matter if that game was playing on the moon. Texas A&M would have beat last year's Auburn team. This team's better. A big part of it is because of the talent. Cam Coleman, all the other guys that Coach Freeze recruited, it's clearly played a big part. Auburn, really, they're only missing a really good passing quarterback. Thorne's not a bad player. He's very gutsy. He's gritty, and I love that. And he was a big part of why they won that game. But in a lot of other games, he's had so many bad games throwing the football. Really, Oklahoma, if you look at that game, they should have beat Oklahoma, but they didn't because of the pick 6 late in the game. Yeah, I don't care for Oklahoma, but I do like to see little brother have their success every now and then. As long as it's not against us, I'm okay with it. I can say that because we beat them. Now obviously, but again, yeah, I do dislike Oklahoma very much. I do, to say the least. I was really mad about that game last year with the way Dylan Gabriel came back, and we had a 3-point lead. And I was watching that game with my brother. He said, "Man, y'all got it now." And right away when we got that field goal, I shook my head. He's like, "Man, what is it, man? Y'all got it." I was like, "No, it's too much time." But Dylan Gabriel's a beast. Our secondary's been playing really bad lately. He's like, "Nah, man, y'all got it." Next thing you know, Dylan Gabriel, phew, 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 touchdown to win the game. And what bothers me most about that game Oklahoma was not better than us last year. They're not better than us now, but they found a way to win, and we should have won. So yeah, it is what it is. No, he's a Georgia fan, so he was really happy with beating us about a month ago or so. But I don't see why we lose to Texas A&M. Honestly, the only advantage Texas A&M has is they're at home. That's about it. Our running backs are better than theirs. Our offense, defensive lines are better than theirs. I think us as a team is better. And I don't think Sark is necessarily a better coach than Mike Elko. I mean, you can't really tell. I mean, it's Mike Elko's first year. And I think he's a great coach. I think he's great at building a program. Look what he did at Duke. I mean, Duke doesn't ever never does anything. And people talk about how Manny Diaz is successful at Duke, but he's building off of what Mike Elko had already built there. All right. And before that, Manny Diaz got run out of Miami and didn't get fired until they actually hired Cristobal there. It's like he found out as soon as the head coach and Cristobal took his job, and then like, oh, now we're gonna fire you. So that tells you everything you need to know about that situation. But I do think again, I know Texas A&M is not garbage. They can beat Texas, but they shouldn't beat Texas. This game to me is going to remind me of the Notre Dame game. You think they're better than Texas A&M, and they clearly were a better team, but they had struggles in that game. Texas A&M gave them all they can handle and more. I think this game is going to go down to whose quarterback makes the least amount of mistakes and who happens to run the football the best in this game. And I believe even if in Quinn Ewers and knock on wood, my dresser drawer is made of wood, so I could say that. I respect Georgia a lot. I really do. I don't even dislike them, and I'm an Auburn fan, you know. But as a Texas fan, I really don't like them right now because of what they did to us in our house, even with the referees helping us in that game. But I don't dislike Georgia. I really don't. But I do think we should beat Texas A&M. That's just my opinion. I think we're just better. I think we're about a touchdown, maybe 10 points better. I don't think we're 20, 30 points better. That ain't happening. I mean, Texas A&M's a talented team, so they're going to give us a hard time. Now, if they were to beat us, they actually supposedly they go to the SEC championship game. Honestly, I don't have an issue with that. They could beat us. I'd be happy, from a standpoint, and Mike Elko, and it's his first year there. He had so much success at Duke, and how can you not be a Mike Elko fan? I'm a fan of him. I'm not a fan of Texas A&M, but I'm a fan of his success and what he's done with programs like Duke. He built them to where they're an 8-9 win team, and now he's doing it at Texas A&M, and he's got a chance to win 10 games. I mean, I love Mike Elko. I respect him very much. I don't love him, you know what I mean, but I love what he's done, and he's done really good. He's clearly his program's in a good place, and it's going to get better, but hopefully not this year because I don't want to lose to them. I want us to win it all. Do I think we do? We can. I don't know if we will, but we can. My only threats right now, obviously Georgia, because they whipped us, and I see Oregon as a big threat because of Dylan Gabriel. And anybody knows how to beat us up is Dylan Gabriel. Ask him about last year. He did it to us. Well, the thing is, for the purposes of my YouTube channel, I have a team that I like from every conference. Technically, right now, I have 2 SEC teams and 2 Big Ten teams, and let me explain that real quick. Before this year, Oregon was Pac-12. That was my favorite team. I decided to pick a team from every conference because it's good for my channel. It gives me a chance to interact with a lot of really good fans. ACC is Florida State. SEC, it was Auburn. And Texas was Big 12. But now Texas is SEC too because they've moved, obviously. My new Big 12 team, they're not hot this year. I think their coach is on his way out. He's probably going to retire. But it's Oklahoma State. I got a lot of respect for Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy and what he's done for Oklahoma State, winning a lot of games by not having the best players all the time, but still winning most of his games. And it's sad to see that they're going on an 8-game losing streak and all that. But I respect Oklahoma State as a program, Michigan, they're not too hot this year, but they will go bowling, obviously. I like Michigan's style of football. They're smash mouth, they're physical. They run the football good. They usually play great defense. Yeah, I think they're, and obviously Oregon, they're my Pac-12 team. And, of course, I like Notre Dame from the independent. So, yeah. I mean, it's one bad year. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, Gundy he's never won a national title, but it's really, it's really hard because, again, he's never really had the best players. And he doesn't talk about that, but if you look at Oklahoma State's football teams over the years since he's been there. I think he's had one losing season outside of this one. That was his first year. So that's really good. He's been a very good coach. He's very successful. And, excuse me, he's always found ways to win a lot of his games. And that's why people respect him so much. Or Kyle Winningham. Is it Kyle Winningham? Coach Winningham from Utah. Those coaches, the OGs of the game, they've been at their programs for about 20 years or more by now. And they've always had a lot of winning seasons. They've been so successful. So it is sad to see Oklahoma State going through. Hey, I'd rather be Oklahoma State than Florida State right now because grief. Mike, talk about a hard fall. Man, Mike Norvell, grief. 13-1 last year. Got destroyed by Georgia because they had a lot of backups and their main players didn't want to play that game for whatever reason. And now they're about to be 2-10 because they're not beating Florida. But, man, good grief. That's even worse because Florida State started in the top 10 and they fell on their head since then, really. But yeah, as far as this video, I'm about to make another live video in just a second. No matter who wins, UJ will beat them for the SEC. Motivated, dedicated. Look, much respect to Georgia. They've had a great program. Gary, as an Oregon guy, I love how that sounds. But we got to focus on Washington because we hadn't beat them since Dan Lannon's been there. If you look back, he's lost them 3 times in a row. Twice in the regular season and in last year's Pac-12 championship game. Kind of got dominated by Washington. So I think they're way better than Washington now, but you still got to take them seriously because they've had our number. But look, Georgia they're not a consistent team, and I'll talk about that in the next video. But that's not a give me. Just because you beat somebody once don't mean you're going to do it again. You know? Georgia proved that 3 years ago by getting embarrassed by Alabama in the SEC title game. And then they come back to win the whole thing by whipping Alabama. When Bryce Young was there, by the way, and he was the Heisman Trophy quarterback winner. I mean, y'all did lose to a 3-loss Ole Miss team who couldn't beat Florida, who can't beat Kentucky, and who couldn't beat LSU. And neither one of the 3 programs are very good. I mean, Florida's finishing the season good, obviously, good for them. But Ole Miss was way overrated, obviously. You know, it's embarrassing how their season has turned out. And they should beat Mississippi State, win the Egg Bowl, but they might not even win 10 games this year. Plus, depending on who they play in their bowl game. But yeah, I mean, Georgia has kind of been disappointing this year, if I'm being honest. Well, they already have, but that's besides the point. I mean, Florida's lost 5 games. Kentucky's lost 7 games as of yesterday. And Georgia struggled with both those teams. I mean, they're going to have a hard time this Saturday with Georgia Tech. I mean, yeah, Georgia's really good. They're real talented. But their quarterback, Carson Beck, who's really good, by the way, he has struggled. Look, I had a lot of people leave because they know it's true. Georgia has not really impressed me this year because with Alabama, look what Alabama's doing. They can't even win 10 regular season games. Look at Ole Miss. They're 8-3 right now. They're not going to – at best, both those teams might be 9-3 by Saturday, at best. You know? Yeah, Georgia Tech's a pretty good team. I mean, they did get blown up by Notre Dame, but their quarterback, Haynes King, he did get hurt. I know he got pulled out of the NC State game, which they almost lost. But Georgia Tech's a running team. So, you look at teams that have had success against Georgia. Tennessee, they pulled away with Tennessee because Tennessee's not better than them. But what Tennessee was able to do was run the football. Look at how they lost to Ole Miss. Ole Miss ran the football really good and played good defense. And how Alabama won. How'd they win? They ran the football really good with a mobile quarterback. And you know, Alabama has turned out not to be really good. It doesn't matter. I mean, that's the recipe to success. You got to run the football right up their gut. And Kentucky, the 1-point loss they had at home, Kentucky, who's not even bowl eligible, by the way, ran the football through Georgia's throat. I mean, you can say injuries. You can say whatever excuses. It doesn't matter. Look, Georgia should win that game. I agree with you. No, I'm not making any bets on that game. But if they lose to Georgia Tech, I would not be surprised. Georgia Tech has found a way to win two games this year, 2 that they had no business winning. Now, I understand the circumstances and what I'm about to say. You're going to look at me like, who cares? A top 10 preseason Florida State team, nobody except Seamus on game day picked them to win. They won that game, and then they embarrassed Miami at home. Top 10 teams at some point in the year, they both beat. And I know Georgia's better than both those teams put together. I agree with you. But Georgia is 9-2 for a reason. They're not undefeated for a reason. So they've been embarrassed twice already. They can get embarrassed again. It's all I'm saying. Look, last year's game, it was close. It shouldn't have been. And I mean, Georgia's not invincible. So good for them. And look who they lose to. A 4-8 South Carolina team. Look that up. So I'm not impressed with Georgia, really. To be honest. Okay, they beat us. That was their best win of the year, was us. Outside of that, who have they beaten that's impressive? A top 10 Tennessee team who's clearly not that good right now, who we could beat too. Still can't beat Alabama without Kirby Smart, with a coach who only put up 3 points yesterday at Oklahoma. Our little brother, by the way. So, I don't care what Georgia's done. So, and if we play them in Atlanta, it's not an advantage for them. They can't win in Atlanta in the SEC title game. Not really. Who do you play at home? Who have you beaten at home that's any good? That's a complete team. And Georgia Tech ain't neither, but that would definitely knock you out the playoffs if you can't beat Georgia Tech. And you know the playoff committee, they have their favorites. I mean, if y'all somehow struggle with them at home and still win, you know, there's these other teams out there. You know, what if Miami doesn't lose anymore? And here's the thing. What I'm saying is I'm not saying everybody else is better than Georgia. That's not what I'm saying, okay? But what I am saying is you know how the playoff committee has a lot of favorites. Last year, look at Florida State. They were undefeated. They won the they won the ACC title. Didn't lose to anybody. Alabama got embarrassed by us at home. Lost by 10 points. It should have been more. They had a lot of help to beat y'all last year. By the way, y'all still should have won that game. I thought y'all were better than a broken down Alabama team beat y'all. You know, I felt like y'all should have been in the playoffs too. You know, but my point is this year. Let's say SMU wins out. They beat Miami in the ACC title game. Is SMU better than y'all? I think you know the answer to that. I don't think so. I don't. I mean, Carson Beck is way too inconsistent. Y'all's run game is very inconsistent as well. Even with Trevor Etienne, excuse me, not Travis Etienne. And y'all's defense gives up way too much on the ground against tough teams and on line of scrimmage. So, I'm not worried about Georgia. And again, look who you lost to. Alabama, who can't even get a touchdown against a terrible Oklahoma team on the road with a lot of offensive injuries. And you lost, and they also lost to Tennessee, Alabama, and all the talent in the world, they can't win 10 regular season games. You also lost to Ole Miss, and you should have lost by more than 18 points. That's all I'm saying. Are y'all beating Oregon this year? I don't think so. Would you beat soft state? Ohio State? Maybe, because Ohio State's soft. Yeah, I said what I said. Oh, no, look at the stats. He had over 100 yards against Georgia. Look it up. He wasn't the reason they lost. Tennessee's defense ain't that good yet. That's why. They got tested by good athletes. That's what Georgia has. Good athletes. Look it up. That running back ran through y'all a lot in that game. And then they got so far behind because their defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. Carson Beck finally played a good game offensively for the first time all year with no mistakes. And they didn't run the football anymore. At that point, they were throwing the football around a lot. That's about what he had against y'all. He wasn't the issue. And Texas don't have the best running back, but they got some good running backs. But yeah, that's besides the point. But hey, motivated, dedicated, I appreciate you coming to the channel. I'm not really an Uncle Lou. I'm not a trash talker. I do like to speak a lot of facts. I'm also a lot more respectful than he could be on YouTube because you know how he is. But in about a few minutes, I'm going to go live again to talk about Georgia, whether or not I think they're a legit playoff team. And they can be. But I'm going to give my opinion on that. I'm going to go live a lot this week. Against who? There you go. Nobody. Nobody. But yeah, I'm about to stop this live. I'm gonna go live again. But yeah, for anybody that's come through, thank you for watching me go live. This is my first live all year. The last time I went live is when I watched Florida State not make the playoff last year. But Texas A&M's a good team. They could win this game. I'll give them about a 30% chance to beat Texas. That's my honest opinion because it's a rivalry. Anything can happen. Texas A&M's not a garbage can program. They're a really good program, but they're not a great team. Again, great teams don't lose at South Carolina, and they don't lose at Auburn and do this. Pass gas. That's what A&M did. So losing those games. But yeah, I'm gonna catch you on a few minutes. This X button.